What's up, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Certifiable podcast. I'm just a guy who works here at Certifiable, and I'm surrounded right now by other guys who work here at Certifiable. Go ahead and introduce yourselves clockwise.
I'm Rick, and do I need to say anything else?
You're leading the way. I'm Jesse.
Tell the people what you do here, Rick.
I do everything that's not creative. I leave that to these guys.
Right.
Jesse. I do everything.
It's not creative.
It's not creative.
I do nothing that is business.
I don't know. You told pretty good numbers the other day.
I pulled all those out my butt. You're in there. You're in your office going, "What? That's not accurate at all."
That was great.
And I'm Anthony, and I might be easy to list what I don't do.
There we go. So
go ahead, list them.
He's like, I do what both of those guys.
I've
do.
I don't think there's anything that you don't do.
I do everything Rick does and everything Jesse does. I don't even need them.
if you guys are familiar with Certifiable Studios, then you know that we are a board game, card game, tabletop game company out of Richland, Mississippi, and pretty much one of the only gaming companies in Mississippi, as far as I know.
There might be some. I imagine that as far as a full-up company, I think we are.
Right.
I'm sure that there are a lot of dreamers that are doing some really great
Some mom and
things that we
pops.
just don't know about.
Yeah, right on. But we thought this might be a lot of fun for you guys who've been a part of us for so long, and some of the new people who are coming on just for this podcast to find out how Certifiable got started, how we came to be. And so I thought, what better way than to bring around the guys who started it all. And I kind of want to start with Rick and Jesse because you guys had the idea together. Jesse, how did you come to know Rick?
I think Rick actually make this more interesting of a story than me, because when we talked the other day about going over what Q&A might be asked, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what a boring question. And then Rick kind of shined a little light on it. I was like, I guess that is more of an entertaining thing, because it's weird, because it's funny. When I think of the start of Certifiable, it indefinitely dates back to Anthony and my origin, but then that ties directly to Rick and myself and our origin. It's just a weird. It's a beautiful. It's a beautiful combination. But Rick, if you would make that a little more entertaining than I possibly can of how it started, as opposed to just a boy in his dream.
Well, so when I started the original company, which was Sights and Sounds turned iVox, the dream was always to. My cough is going to come in now.
You're all right.
Dream is always to make product, entertainment, documentaries, movies, but in Mississippi, it's a real challenge. We didn't have the equipment. We didn't have everything that it took to make movies. So I had to make a decision to start it from an equipment base, which actually made me start to have to find clients, reasons to pay for it, which made me do everything but what I wanted set out to do, which was movies and whatnot. Then I hired Opie Cooper, who was one of the original Certifiable members, who just brought an amazing amount of creativity and really, the energy that really got us kind of back on track to say, hey, what is this entertainment thing that we wanted to do? And so then we started concepting some things together, and he said, what we really need, if we're ever going to get this sold, we need great concept art. I happen to know the guy. Mm-hmm. He's in Dallas right now, but let's just bring him over. So he made the phone call. Jesse came in, I think really for a weekend at first, and then we decided to make
it was a shift. I just remember because we had lived in the think tank over at iVox.
I know, but I mean, as far as the original introduction, I think it was just let's just kind of get this thing going. But there was this product called, what was it? Deedle Dovey and the
Deedle Dovey, way too fluffy, and the something a fuzzy white balls.
Yeah, a much longer name than a lifespan, actually. Yeah. So he came over and he worked on that concept art for months and months, so that we could pitch it to LA. Go out there and put all of our dreams into a satchel and go out there and pitch all of with all of our gusto, and unfortunately,
it's nothing that you see on TV. You picture going to a board and having guys in suits on the other side, and you give them the idea, and they stand up and shake your hand and say, "Well, Mr. Moore, we'll be in touch. This is amazing." It was nothing like that. It was nothing like you see there. Even if it would have been amazing, it's not that quick. There's steps and stages, and you come back, and it was just kind of tiresome, really.
The most we got out of it was really fun stories, like being pulled over. Singing karaoke.
But it was, if anything, that I've got out of both our relationship and Anthony and my relationship is definitely the connections that I didn't have. Connections that we now have today that there's no way younger version of me would have ever believed we'd have had on our cell phones. And that to me is the really cool part. People we've met at cons and people we've met on going doing pitches. It's amazing.
But I mean, it wasn't just that one pitch. I mean, we went out there over and over and ended up with quite a nice book of what I still consider to be great concepts, great art. Of course, every time I mention it to Jesse, he just cringes because if he drew it more than 2 days ago, it sucks in his mind.
Yep.
And of course, I'm thinking I'm sitting on a gold mine. I mean, it's just as soon as something happens, I mean, we can just start releasing, and we haven't failed at all. This is just in queue, and then, but we did that for a number of years, probably 6 or 7 years, and then it just got to, we started to read the writing on the wall, and I think Jesse was like, what else do you want me to draw that'll never see the light of day?
Sure.
And so we ended up parting ways.
Well, yeah, we were in just a discouraging position because I call it the now what factor, and we hit it every single time.
We knew we could do what we could do,
and then we hit the now what. I got an idea. Now what? Let's do the artwork. Now what? Let's get it edited. Now what? Let's send it off and make it a book so we have it. We got it. Now what? I don't know. Yeah. We hit that every project we came up. At some point, we'd hit a now what, and we didn't have the answer to it. And
well, I mean, because especially for this small company in Mississippi, we, in order to put all of this money and effort and time into something, and then realizing that it was out of our control if anybody ever saw it.
Yeah.
So it was a sad day, but Jesse and I ended up saying, okay, look, you can do your thing. I'm going to do my thing. And I was still doing the production and advertising agency stuff. And then about a year later, I get told about this book called Barona's War. And there's a signing out at Books A Million, or I think it was Books A Million. It might have been
Barnes & Noble.
And I just remember, and I'll let you tell the story about how that happened, but I go out there, and it was just one of those, I was the problem. I was the reason why. I mean, I was what was keeping Jesse from being successful, because this was just a great book series.
I don't think that's what it was. I think
that's
you would dream big, and I dream small.
Obviously, I'm never a problem.
Right, clearly.
I mean, but I want you to know. But when you think about the dreams that I had about trying to get it finished, because that's been your thing that you've preached forever. It's like, you nothing is, you might as well not start it if you don't finish it. You're going to finish it, and y'all did. And then that's when I was introduced to Anthony's work and how that all worked out, and it just, I just didn't have the right formula.
Or what nows. I think that was literally it. Is our the now what factor was different, because if we wanted to get something pipe dreaming and naive, on the big screen, there was several, now what, that we're going to hit before we could ever get there, and we were out of control of that. So if our now what was, I just want to get a book and sell it at conventions, everything from start to finish is something we 100% had control of. And up to that point, I never had control of that. He would dream big, too big, and I would dream too small, and we couldn't figure out how to get on that path. And it was just a matter of scaling back and saying, okay, let's be realistic. Let's not.
But even when we tried to scale our dreams back to a manageable, even those seemed.
Yeah, it was out of our grasp.
We would get excited about it, and then ended up that would be too big.
Mm-hmm. So we started off small.
Actually seeing that book and realizing what you guys did, I was just in awe over and just so proud of you guys. but also a little jealous because I wasn't. I mean,
You weren't part of
it was kind of an eye opener for me, and but I bought my copy, got him to sign it for me, and wished him all the best, and then that's But I'll let you back up to
let's
how
talk
that
a bit
even
about
started.
Barona's War, because that is definitely
That's our
you
start.
and Anthony. That's your start together.
Well, I called Anthony, and it had been, I'm guessing, I tried to
been
do
a
the
couple
math.
of years
It
after Art
years.
Institute.
And it was an out the blue. Anthony and I were at the Art Institute.
At
And
least 7 years.
yeah. Was it that long in between?
Because we didn't start until like 2008-ish.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anthony and I went to college together, or the Institute, and we hung out in the same clique. And we were friends, but we weren't buddies. We were we were in the same clique.
Right.
And we were both talented guys in that clique, and I think was what what brought me to him, and just admiring character design, I think, mainly. And fast forward past Art Institute, I wanted to do something, and I think it was after all of a sudden I wasn't with iVox anymore, but I couldn't not create and not want to do, but I was dreaming smaller. And I remember wanting to do a Comic-Con, and anytime, usually in illustrators, especially myself, is around other illustrators, you do that thing where it makes you want to draw, and you like get excited. And I remember going to my first con, and it had the absolute opposite effect, where these guys were half my age and twice as good, and I was thinking, what is the point? Because as long as these people exist, there's no point for me to do anything. And I just kind of got that out of my head come the next year, and I'm watching, and now I'm looking at, and I'm analyzing, okay, this guy's better than me, but you know what? He is. He's not. But I'm like, but they're selling. I could do this. But I didn't have the balls to do it by myself. So I was like, who's the talented guy I know? You know what? Let me call up Anthony, who, by the way, we haven't talked in forever. We were never that good of friends, and say, hey, let's do a con together. And I remember him saying something like, don't you have to be somebody to do that? I'm like, but they want no.
Yeah.
They'll have no idea we're nobody, because I remember going up to, like Mark Brooks and thinking, this guy was badass. And I didn't know that's who it was. Scotty Young, I didn't know that's who he was. It wasn't until I looked at his work, and I'm like, oh, you're that guy. You're this one guy who did this one comic I know. So I'm like, and I'd be looking at people's names afterwards, and but I remember telling Anthony, we could fool them all. We'll fool them into thinking we're somebody, and that's exactly what we did. That we went to our first con, as green as could be, having no idea what to sell our stuff for. We didn't know what to bring. We were the biggest amateurs there, but we did okay. And more importantly, we had a blast.
I remember the sketchbooks. In fact, I've still got them.
Yeah, we had a blast. And then I think then all of a sudden we got bit by the bug, and we started wanting to do it, and we started building a fan base, and it was really cool. Well, we would get several times. Me and Anthony would always sit next to each other, and we would goof around in drawings, stupid stuff together. And then all of a sudden, our styles, and Anthony gets more credit than this, he started matching mine. And we ended up saying, we kept on getting questions, y'all need to do something together. And finally we said, let's do a calendar. And the way it was going to work is we was going to do every other month. Like January would be me, February would be him, and so forth. But every month, it was a big circle of life that each month, the previous month, would tie in. So like one of them was Mount Crushmore was this giant mountain. And then mine was these little rock mites that ate the mountain. Mm-hmm. But then he did the birds that ate the rock mites that ate the mountain, and that was the whole thing.
Right.
Well, sure enough, come February, we had or whatever. I think one of the later ones might have been October. And when that date came up, we had developed what is now known as the Elialta and the Crapones. I did the Crapones and he did the Elialta, and there they were in this calendar, and it's that thing where you can't describe it, but you feel something. It was like that instant, okay, there's something to these guys, and we ended up scrapping the entire calendar idea and said, and again, ignorant and naive as we were in Chicago, and we said, let's have a book by next Chicago. We had 1 year. Mm-hmm. Not to get it done, but to do everything, to do character design, to do the layout, get it printed, get it sent over. We got the books for like 2 days before the con. We're like, oh my God, we sent off and we're waiting. And we had never done anything like this before. And, we're waiting for 500 copies or 1,000 copies, whatever it was, to get shipped to us. And here's the con approaching. It's approaching. And we're like, we've only worked on that all year. We had nothing to bring to the con that we've already signed up for. We already bought the tickets and everything in Chicago. And here it is, like 2 days before the shipment comes in, and I'm carrying these boxes up and down the stairs. And but it was that proud moment. We ended up going there, and I remember thinking 1,000 books. And I remember that popping in my head. I remember telling you, Anthony, you realize even if we might sell 20 of these, but even if we sold 40, we'll still have 960 books to sell. And I wanted to throw up. I was like, oh my God, this is awful. But what I wasn't thinking is, we don't have to sell all 1,000. We just sell a quarter of them, because then we make our money back, and then the rest of them is pure profit. And it was an overwhelming amount. Well, we ended up doing really well during Chicago, and then when we got back, we did a signing over at Barnes & Noble, and I was paranoid that we'd be that 45-year-old lady sitting there at the table,
right?
And you walk in, she's like, "Hey," and you walk by her because you don't really care about, homebrew cooking for your children book she came up with, and I didn't want to be that. So we had invited a bunch of our friends, and that crowd formed a bigger crowd. And I remember Barnes & Noble ended up staying open later because we had such a crowd, and we ended up doing really well. Well, because our purpose of this book was not to publish it. It was literally just to have something at our tables. And it was within a month after doing that, we got offers from like Baker and Taylor and Ingram Publishing, Barnes & Noble Publishing, because I guess they put in their computer and it went out. And so we ended up getting it published. And that was kind of just the beginning of, we started going everywhere and all over the U.S. To push it. And that kind of that opened the door. That's what got us in places we just never thought we'd be dealing with. So. And
from Barona's War of the Books, it then went into the board game.
Yeah, well, I had been into board games my entire life.
Before you go there, though, I want what I'm so amazed about with Barona isn't the result; it's the process. I mean, because you lived
in Dallas,
you were still in
300
Dallas,
miles away.
I was still in Dallas,
and I mean, so you're here, you're there, and you're creating basically things that I'm just so in awe over. But from so far away, and I mean, I want to hear a little bit about that.
Well, Anthony again had more of the burden. He was exhausted, and it was not fun. I could feel it. Because he was doing soccer, and then he still had a full-time job. I was working at the sleep clinic, so my hours were phenomenal. So I was able to work on it at work and then after work, and I was excited about it, and I'm sure that went into it. And Anthony, after X amount of months, was just kind of done because he was staying up until...
Yeah, I'd go to work all day and then stay up till like 2 in the morning on an early night.
And that's wasn't once or twice a week. That was.
But I mean, how did that work though? I mean, what was
a lot of Skype. A whole lot of
Skype, a lot of back and forth. We'd sketch out the things we weren't drawing to show the other how we wanted the layout to look. It's like I'd tell them, okay, I need a pack of Crapones here. They need to be crawling all over this guy that's fighting them. Here's the rough, kind of fill in the areas and rough it out before we clean it up, so that way where the lines are all going to meet and stuff like that.
And the rules of the book was Anthony drew the Elialta. I would never, it's against the rules that I could ever draw his race. I drew the Crapones, he never drew those. And depending on whose side of Amity being the island, no, Barona was the island. Yeah. Amity was what they were fighting over. But depending on whose side of the island would be the person who drew that environment or whose story idea was. So, like, for example, Anthony had one where it was these zombie slayers. Well, the Crapones were the zombies, so I'd have to draw all those, but Anthony drew the slayers and the environment. So he laid out the story, and he'd slowly start putting it together, but he would almost do either X's or circles or whatever where my guys would go. Then he'd send that rough over to me, I'd rough it a little bit, send it back to him, and then it would start coming together. And now, depending on who was doing it, only one of us would color because the color styles are fairly different. But he would color now my then inked, very cleaned up Crapone on top of his guys attacking them or whatever. Because one of them was a severed head flying across the screen, but it was still I had to draw that head,
severed head,
and he would draw that thing. But that's one of the two best images I think we did that showcases that is Without Perfection, which is in Cabaloo Tales. is the two, an LA Alta and a Capone fighting. They're each on the backs of their beasts. One of them like a horse and one of them like a bear-esque type characters. And they're engaged in combat. And to look at that image, it's one of those that still impresses me today. It's not one of those that, but you look at it and you're like, holy crap, that looks like one person drew that. And then the other one that's just impressive is the zombie one with the big brute, and he has like 15 guys covering him.
Yeah.
And it's two different guys. I'm like, that's kind of neat. But that was a task. But after the first book, by the time we were into Fight for Amity, we had that stuff down packed. Our work got quicker and quicker, and all of a sudden it went from these shapes we would draw to X's to dots to here, just put your guys in there. And we could completely fill out each other's thought process, where we were going with it. Oh, I see what you're doing. And it was all of a sudden, it was like butter. It was easy.
And then when you go to the cons, you're saying people will say, okay, so which one's you the writer and which one is the
which one's the
artist?
writer, which one we both raise our hand, and
Right.
but it was we had a really fun fan base that would travel, and it was just astonishing. They'd come, and that group of 7 that came from Canada, and they did it 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And when they found out Cavalier Tales was coming out, it was just that weird thing. We're like, holy crap, that's awesome. Guy in Australia ended up buying it and sending me a letter saying how awesome it was. And it was just really, really neat.
And this was with Archaea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Arcadia.
Well, Cavalier Tales wasn't. They were scared of that one because it was more words than pictures. But we wanted to take the risk, so we just spent our money to make that one. And so now we have the 3 editions, or Volume 1, first and second edition. Volume 2, just first edition, I think. And then Cavalier Tales.
Which was con exclusive.
Yes. And now
That was self-published.
if we release what we'd like to do, it'd be, I guess, a 3rd edition of the first book, 2nd edition of the second book, and then technically first edition of Cavalier Tales, but we want to swap some stuff around in there. And then I would love for Brent to be able to sink his teeth into, because Cavalier Tales is just short stories with 1 or 2 images per story, and I would love Brent to get involved in that type of stuff, where we would release the 4 books.
You had Brent Hearn, who now works at Certifiable. You had Brett Kenyon, who is a freelance writer, and Jackson,
And
both
then
contribute, and Opie, all contribute to these books. So the books came first, but then as we were hinting, and Rick, that was a good point that you brought up to try and find out more about them. How did the board game come into existence?
The original?
Yeah.
Well, because it wasn't really a Verona. The Verona board game was something I did because I'd always wanted to dabble in them.
Right.
I had worked on, the first time I got contacted to do a board game, I was head over heels because I've always wanted to, since the 80s.
Right.
And it was just a bad experience. It was too many cooks in the kitchen, and I wasn't doing my game where someone was saying, you finish it and we'll sponsor it. I was still kind of working for them. So even if I thought better of it, it wasn't really my choice. They gave me just enough choice to make it feel like it's mine, but enough to make me ashamed of certain things. And so when that got released, ended up going and starting as a fanboy of a publisher that contacted me. And I would have worked for free. I was so excited about it.
Right.
Had to take a step back and say, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to be a year down the line regretting this. And then, so I started getting contacted, and then that was the opportunity over in Canada. But I was teetering, moving, and I was supposed to be their head over there. And your whole job is creating. I'm not going to tell you what to do. Everything you do, I love it. Blah 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 blah. And it got scary because that was a big commitment, and that's kind of how the whole thing started. I remember going up to Rick because he didn't have a dog in the fight, and I was saying, "Here's what I'm facing. This is not my world. I don't want to do something dumb." And then he was asking the right questions, and it was a Q&A and a real heart-to-heart between he and I, where the next smart move was, you know what, maybe I can still be in control and not be dicked over, because now we're 50-50. And that was kind of the beginning of it. So board games was just a natural transition to me.
Yeah.
I, like most illustrators, when you make music, you could listen to it afterwards and you can enjoy it. You could dance to it. You could, work out to it. And if you build cars, you could race it. It's like anything, there is a payoff. With art, when I design a character, you can't do anything with it. You can just look at it. And I wanted to interact with characters we were creating. I wanted to play with them. And a tabletop just seemed so just common sense of the next step. I made this guy. Now what could I do? You know what? Now I'm going to use him to hold this line of bad guys off. And meanwhile, this is going to happen. And all of a sudden, it was like it was the natural next step. And I felt that years ago. So it's just I've always been excited about tabletopping because of that.
And the thing that I got excited about,
that's what I was going to ask.
Because I'm not the gamer of the group.
Yeah,
I like very traditional stuff. Not a lot of depth in what I play typically. Even though I absolutely. I'm probably the biggest Who Goes There fan out there. I love Who Goes There.
Right.
And I don't know where that would be on a level side, but I'm a huge fan of that. But one of the things that really attracted me, so Jesse and I kind of was talking because he was talking about possibly moving to Canada, looking at the pluses and minuses of the goods and the bads, because he and I had we weren't really working regularly together, and I always considered him a friend, but I always had a certain level of guilt because there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in projects that never saw the light of day.
Right.
And so I kind of had this, because when you're sitting there looking at even like Fuzzy White Falls, I think if we had actually gotten that produced, it probably would have had to have $100 million budget. And that's just, so we could never imagine doing that on our own.
And we should tell the people that, when you guys were going out to LA, you weren't pitching to small movie houses.
No, we were pitching Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network,
Disney,
Sony.
Yeah, exactly. These were big houses. These were big productions that you were bringing to
We had
them.
connections. It just, at some point, it just didn't matter, you know?
Because it was even, some of our best pitches would end in, love it, this is awesome. Matter of fact, we've got something that's really similar already in queue, so we're going to have to pass on it. Mm-hmm. It's like, everything was building us up to thinking, okay, this is it. And then it went away.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we had a certain level of I did a paranoia. It's like, okay, I wonder if they really had this in the pipe, or if we just gave them the idea. And then this is kind of interesting. Like Fuzzy White Falls is one of those things. We go out there and pitch it. And that was, 2005?
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
And then 4 years later, this small little movie called Avatar comes out, and I'm looking at the environment, James Cameron,
and we're like, what?
We were looking at James Cameron. The trailer came out, and we're like, holy crap!
So we had
that's Fuzzy White Falls.
We had concept art that was like mirror image. Now, of course, it's a floating island. This is not a new concept, but it was still with that annoying thing. You're seeing what you want to at that point. Those bastards,
So, but one of the things that really was I wanted to be careful. I think that I went overboard in trying to not do what I wanted to do, which was like, I want to do this with you, Jesse. This is exciting. But the reason why it was exciting is because it was such a manageable thing. We're talking about, print assets and things that we could actually, with his talent. And I'm thinking to myself, finally, without having to commit every asset that I've ever imagined and then still have to borrow another 20 times that to do anything. This is something that, even if it only sold 1 or 2 or 10 copies, it's still something that we could actually hold.
Yeah.
And so luckily the conversation continued and it seemed to, but even from that point, because some of the things that that Jesse had issues with his first board game issue was too many cooks in the kitchen. Well, I am absolutely guilty of that historically. And that was one of the things. It's like, and that's one of the reasons why the sign in here is like, do it for yourself. At least at the end of the day, you're going to like it.
Right.
And I never really got that. I was the guy that, I'm just thinking, how do I get it on big retail shelves? I want to sell. I wanted to be a mass sellout on everything we did, because it was more about selling and generating the fan base, but also, I didn't want to be a popular hobby game. I wanted it to be, Hasbro.
Right.
But going into Certifiable, my whole thing is like, look, Jesse, this is 100% your show. I'm going to say, hey, what if? And he does give me the courtesy of listening to that as often as he can from just a respect side of things. But I was the guy 10, 15 years ago. Oh, this is great. Love it. But
It was it was the focus group thing. That
Yeah,
was real bad.
and
you mind if we bring so and so into? I want to ask him a couple. I'm like, who is this again? My next door neighbor's neighbor. I want to ask
I
them.
wasn't that bad. I didn't have enough friends to burden you with that. But I did want everybody to have buy-in. It was my issue. It was my mistake. I was thinking, oh, but I mean, if you like it, then somebody else will like it, and then Jesse is having to change things. So I was guilty as charged. But coming back into the certifiable world, it was, I think that our lines were a lot more clear. I'll handle the business side. I will handle everything that is traditionally a left brain.
Right. Yeah.
No, left.
Yeah.
Left brain side of things. But I will never make him change anything that he doesn't want to change.
Yeah.
Now, I think that there are a few things he was like, you know what? I really don't want to change it, but it's not going to kill me to change it this time. So he's given me some of those. But that's one of the things that I walk in every day trying to honor that.
Mm-hmm.
And that same thing with Anthony, because I burden his door every day. I mean he's got his back to the door and it gets dark and he's like, oh crap, here's Rick. And
He started shutting his monitor, everything off so you can't criticize.
You were still in Dallas. All this is going on. You're working at not a production house, but an art house.
It was a software company that created a reading program for children in schools.
How did they pitch you to come here?
well, we're not even there yet.
Oh, are we not?
We have a time limit on this.
Oh, geez. Okay. No, we're good. Yeah, let's go.
Because one of my favorite pieces. What?
Back in 1742.
No, I'm telling you, I'm. It just the stupidity that I would bring to the table.
Carry on, Rick. Carry on.
Opie,
now you have his attention.
So number one is Jesse did have a bad experience his first time with a game. So
Kickstarter.
Because of that, Kickstarter was off the radar.
Yeah.
Nope, no chance in hell. Kickstarter not going to happen. So the first 6 to 8 months, we spent a lot of money and time and effort trying to figure out how to go direct retail. These nobodies, stupid. But that didn't matter. But finally, we ended up committing and realizing that Kickstarter might be the way to go. Well, the Certifiable was started based on a game called Ash to Bone, which hasn't yet seen the light of day.
Which is yet to see the light of day, yeah.
Well, the reason why it hasn't seen the light of day is because when it was Jesse is 100% the creative. He's everything to the game. Basically, hey, I'm going to put everything I can into this piece of work. I said, okay, that's great. I'm on board. I'm a fan of yours anyway. How long will it take? He said, well, if I don't work on anything else, 15 months. Oh. And then that's just to get the game done. And then there's probably another year to get it circulated. And so my commitment was making sure that Jesse ate.
Right.
And Opie was going to eat. And so I had to kind of I can't afford this. We can't. So is there anything else? So, then he comes and they show, hey, you know what? I do have this one game that he played with me. Mm-hmm. I remember Opie and Jesse and I played. We played twice. I love this game. This is fun. And then they started talking about, these orphans and how they're endangered and everything. And I was like, well, what are you talking about?
Right.
Because, again, not being really a gamer, when I played Endangered Orphans for the first time, I was like, I didn't look to see that, that the kid was drowning or anything. I was just looking at it thinking, okay, if I can do this, and there's everything I could do to keep up with, all right, I have this card that affects me if I'm in the hills, and I can do this. And I was like, okay, and of course, at this same time, I'm the chairman of the board for the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
And so, and I'm also in my mind's eye thinking, how do I get it on a very sellout shelf at Walmart or Kmart or Target or whatever? So they're like, "What are you talking about, Rick? You just played it twice." I was like, "No, I didn't. I played this other fun game,
right?
Not Endangered Orphans."
Yeah.
They say, "No, that's Endangered." I said, "Well, there's no way in hell it's going to be called Endangered Orphans."
That's pretty much what he said.
No way in hell. And we've had probably, it was between you, Opie, and myself, we probably had 5 or 6 like end of company kind of discussions.
Right. Yeah.
And
drag out.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't doubt it.
So Opie and Jesse are looking at each other like,
what the problem is?
What is going on? And Jesse, and I'm like, it will be called Endangered Orphans the day that I am no longer a part of your
when
life.
You crying on my cold dead hand.
Seriously,
yeah.
I mean, because I can't do that. And then it was just then it was basically I'm out kind of a moment.
Yeah.
And then, as most of our arguments would kind of come back around to, okay, what am I really saying here? What is the, and then the whole pitch about, come on, I mean, what's so bad about the word endangered? What's so bad?
I couldn't wrap my brain around that.
Yeah.
I'm like, how about not so something children or whatever?
Because I made the joke. It was not like we're calling it killing parentless children.
That's exactly what you said.
Yeah, and that's which ended up carrying over later. But I was like, Rick, these aren't bad words. It's a Tarzan, Luke Skywalker.
Sure.
James Bond, Harry Potter. These are all endangered orphans.
But I was so. I could not get my, because
I want to hear the name. It's so
not an issue.
It just sounds like another title.
So we worked on the Kickstarter. It finally came around. I was like, you know what? Screw it. I said, I tell you what. You can call it Endangered Orphans, but from this point forward, as far as I will deny all involvement. This is the Opie and Jesse show.
Yeah.
I don't exist. And I'm running my other companies. I'm president of the Boys and Girls Club, and I don't want to answer these questions. Absolutely, under no circumstances am I going to be a part. Well, we worked on the campaign, the Kickstarter and everything, and then it kept dragging on. And Opie was like, oh, we got to wait. And I was like, no. I said, at some point, from a business side, launch it.
Yeah.
But we haven't done our pre-marketing. I don't care. Launch it. But we haven't done this. I don't care. Launch it. He's like, well, you just cost us $50,000 of the campaign right there. Like, fine.
I don't care.
I would rather earn $10
at this point.
At this point, because it's been nothing but just money after money after money. I said, then because it's a bird in the hand, two in the bush kind of a situation.
Yeah.
I said, go. So we launched it on August, I think 23rd, and next thing you know, thank God it was named Endangered Orphans. People are like hitting pledge, not having any idea what they're pledging for, because our videos were a little bit more vague and just kind of tongue-in-cheek about hey, whatever you do, don't buy this game. Opie nailed the marketing on that.
Right.
I'm so proud of what he did there. And we didn't really know what to expect, right?
Well, we turned it. It was from you could only save one was our logo, our theme.
Yeah.
It was a 3-player game at this point, and the backers twisted it into 2 dead orphans in every box.
Right.
And we're like, whoa, and that just was all she wrote.
But that kind of became the life of we run our Kickstarters, is because it's a very organic situation. So this thing started to, we had a $4,097 funding goal the first day. First for that whole campaign. We thought maybe if we can fund, that'd be great. And I think we funded the first day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, again, no marketing at all.
Right.
Just lucky saps at this point. And then it was probably a few days into it, the son of a bitch steals my pants or something. And next thing you know, Opie's on there. He's like, yeah, you're not a part of this. So Rick did this, and it's like, and then he completely threw me to the wolves on this campaign, and there's no denying it at this point.
Right.
And I'm like freaking out because I'm just supposed to be this little silent partner guy.
Yeah.
And I'm trying my best to just survive the day. But then it became, of course, throat punch Thursdays and everything to hate Rick.
Yep.
Which I get.
Which is still.
But that in Orphans is where I was introduced to Anthony traditionally, because we had these little standees. Sorry about my cough.
No, you're good.
We had these standees that we were going to do. Then we had this. We got $30,000,
something like that.
And then it was like, call Anthony.
Yeah.
Because we need to do pawns. So that's what I wanted to kind of, then that's when we started to learn about the brilliance that is coffee.
Right, because Anthony, you do a lot of 3D sculpting and everything like that. And people who are familiar with our current games D6 and everything like that, there is a very 3D modeled aspect to every single game. So how did you get roped into doing all this?
We tricked him.
Yeah, well, pretty much. At the time, I was dabbling in ZBrush and 3D, and I've always enjoyed sculpting, but it was always a hobby. And then they called me and was saying, could you sculpt the pawns for us? And, it's at this point I was thinking, can I? So it was literally just that. It was like, okay, I can try. What all do you need? Like, what do I have to do? And it's just sculpt it out and then render out, give us whatever, files the factory needs.
Well, we didn't know what we were asking for.
Well, yeah. You knew more than I did at that point.
We had worked together at that point for years, and it was able to tap into that to say, Anthony, use your artistic license, make it cool that you think it's cool, and everybody's gonna love it. And he just kind of went to town, because the first one was just those little balloon-headed things before you really.
Well, the first one was just a generic one that was supposed to be one pawn for all of them, and then whatever happened in the campaign, it was individual ones. So then at that point, it was okay. Well, now you got to sculpt to 3 of them. And then I think it was actually 4, right?
Yeah.
Then we had to add the Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Boogeyman, but we had some help with that one.
Michael Schubach.
Yeah. So, but that's really all it was. It was just a phone call. Said, hey, we're running this Kickstarter thing. He's like, okay, yeah, I've been watching. And then it's like, now we need sculpted figures. I was like, okay, I can try.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I was just their easiest initial option. Like, had I
he was our best option.
He was the best option.
Had I fallen on my face, they would have contacted some other freelancer.
Whatever.
Well, but I mean, now I'm gonna probably piss Jesse off here, but no, it was the only option for us.
Yeah.
As far as Jesse was concerned, because especially when you're talking about bringing your art, his concept, his design, there was only one person on this earth that I heard him ever mention could do it, and that was Anthony.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there was a trust.
And that's big.
He knew that Anthony wouldn't accept the job if he wasn't going to really do everything he could to make it awesome. And, and sure enough, he did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the thing
this was
about
all just based on a freelance basis.
Right.
This was I don't even know if we ever, actually paid you for it. Did we pay you for it?
That's a good point. No, I don't know.
I don't think we did. We didn't. No, we didn't pay him for his originals. But when we got to the minis with the boys and girls, like the actual upgrade, we did those. But it probably was.
Yeah, it wasn't worth. It was certainly worth more than it was
Yeah.
actually done, no matter what we paid him.
Right. And that's, you bring up a good point about the Kickstarter is from the very beginning, Certifiable has amassed a rabid following that very much has, at times, altered the flow of a lot of these Kickstarter campaigns, just with their ideas and what their want of something so bad that you guys started saying, all right, if you're pledging this much, we're going to start taking stuff away. We're not going to give you things for this and this. So how did that kind of come about?
They're the pulse. I mean, it's that easy. It's we kind of build the sandbox and they play in it, but they are the pulse of the campaign. So we have to be real organic. We can't try. It's like trying to make something viral. You can't do it. So we will come up with ideas, and that's how we'll base the theme of our campaigns. But they're the ones that do all the inside jokes and then the ongoing comments that they make and the running gags and all that. That's all them, and because we have some that are fanatic, and we need those. You know, they do more Q&A than we do, and they bring to light things that we need to know, and they're just great.
Well, not only that, but they answer questions that we at one point probably couldn't have even answered ourselves.
Right.
And I mean, it really is.
They're incredible.
Yeah, and thanks to them, and just the way that it kind of the relationship that we ended up having throughout the campaign, which was a 45-day campaign, which was
brutal,
so long. But I mean, it didn't feel that bad. I mean, you were one of our first backers.
Yep.
You know, and then you continued to do our social, Twitter and
just
Instagram
because.
stuff. For nothing, for not even very many thanks from us for years. And,
yeah, because I'd worked, the first time I worked with Jesse was on a campaign for a local hunting and sporting goods company that we were, for a week and some days all stuffed
right. You were the
in.
moose.
We were stuffed in
He was
these
the coyote.
huge costumes that were hot and sweaty, doing an Office parody for hunting and sporting goods, which was great, but unfortunately, due to other fanatics, never really saw the light of day. But I'd always had a working relationship with you, with Jesse, and I'd met Anthony a few times on the con circuit. And yeah, that's why to kind of bring it all around, that's why a lot of people supported Certifiable when it came onto the market, because we know the quality, we know the heart behind it, and it's just something
he pointed to
fun.
me when he said heart.
I know.
I
gesticulated wildly. I could have been pointing to anybody. I used both hands.
I'll take quality. It's all right, Corey. The quality, the heart.
The heart, whatever you like.
You know what?
The hearty quality.
But what then throughout the campaign, because again, we started off Endangered Orphans as a 2 to 3 player.
Yes.
And it was one of those situations where it's not a 4-player game, it's not a 1-player game. But you have this guy in my chair who
Rick said, "The hell it isn't."
I'm thinking, are you sure it can't be a 4-player
Right.
game? Are you sure it can't be a solo game? And I'm sitting there completely breaking all my rules because he's like, no, it's a 2 to 3 player game. Period. The end.
Yeah.
But because a lot of it's been a really battle for me, because a lot of Jesse's decisions, when he says it can't be, what it's hard for me to digest sometimes, because when I heard him say it can't be a 4-player game, I'm thinking there's no reason why it can't be a 4-player game.
Can it?
But he's like, but that'll make it a longer game than I want to play.
Right.
So from the very beginning, I said, look, Jesse, I'm not going to make you do something that you don't want to do.
But
are you sure? Because we got a lot of people. They got 4-player.
We're going to lose a lot of money if we don't get that.
Then it was Cave. And he did that one for me. And then the solo mod, Brian Thompson, handled that rule from afar. He worked with Anthony.
Right.
And we thought he did a great job with that.
For what he had to work with. Because
and then after the success of Orphans, we did like $355,000 on the Kickstarter. Of course, the misnomer there is, where is that money? Oh, by the way, we have to produce the game.
Yeah.
To ship it. All of the shipping.
But as you said, going from a original 4,000 want to a 300,000 get.
Yeah.
We
didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
We didn't know if we were going to fund at $4,097.
Yeah.
And so then the idea of, Brian would come over on weekends every once in a while and work with Jesse on some stuff on Ash. And that game that started the company that hasn't yet
seen the light of day.
And then we decided to, extend an offer to say, Brian, would you be interested in coming and working here full time? Now, obviously, I can only imagine what the conversations were in Dallas between Anthony and Brian at that point.
Right.
But this whole time, we were really excited about getting Brian here. And then Jesse came to me. He's like, Anthony said something to me. He said, but I don't really know how to read it, because he started to ask a question. It's very un-Anthony-like. I said, well, it sounds like there might be something to talk about there. He's like, no, this is Anthony. No, there's no way.
He's got it too good.
There's no way. Number one, we can't afford them.
Right.
Number two, that would there's just something weird. Because I mean, I just can't imagine Anthony giving up what he's got to come here to work with us. I mean, us.
Right. Band of misfits.
So
I kept thinking I would wake up every day feeling so guilty because I'm like, he's got a good job. And I'm like, this is a fun job, but it's not. But it's not what it is. It's not that. It's not.
We're just fresh off of our first pseudo success.
Sure.
Not even knowing how successful it really was.
Right.
Because by the way, we still had a lot of stuff to do.
Right. There's a lot of legwork that you hadn't even done yet.
And of course, I didn't know Anthony, so I kept encouraging. I was like, no. I mean, look, it's his decision. He's an adult. He's smart. He can figure this out. And but Jesse just had this
looming.
Right.
It was just really it was weird to see. And what it was is just how was it? Would I be his boss? Would he be my boss? I mean, what's going on here?
Right.
Because I mean, it was just you could tell.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that.
It was just weird.
But there was also that whole respect of, I mean, if there's one guy that I would want here, I mean, Anthony is just amazing.
Yeah.
But we're not worthy kind of a feel.
Right.
And luckily, he and Brian both came on at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's completely made us just so much better.
Absolutely. Well, I think, when you think of a certifiable game, artwork comes to mind, the fun of the campaign, but also the overall look, the videos that we produce, things like that with your background and film and television and everything, and the ability to have places like iVox be able to use a lot of the equipment there. The production value of Certifiable as a brand is so much higher than even a lot of these top tier game companies.
But I mean, and I think what's interesting about you saying that, and I want to be careful there because at the time of Orphans, I'd be like, "You're right," But I have to admit, I mean, there's some really great work out there.
Oh,
now.
Absolutely.
But I mean, and I don't know if of course, I would like to say, "Hey, look what we started," but I mean, I know that's nonsense too. But still, it's kind of at the time, and a lot of it's Opie's. He had a really great vision for a lot of that, and then we kind of carried it forward. And then of course, I had the issue with after Anthony comes on, they work on Who Goes There for forever, and then we finally kickstart Who Goes There. There was this. Okay, what are we gonna do? Because part of me wanted to like, okay, we can't say don't buy Who Goes There, but that was an Orphans thing,
right?
And Jesse was like, it's a different thing. I mean, it's a different world, and but trying to relearn what is our voice on each one of these campaigns.
Sure, I think we realize our backers are our voice.
Very much so.
Voice.
If we go in there saying this one we're going to be all like this, it's like no, they mold our campaigns and we roll with it, and it's a great relationship that we have between our company as a character
and it also
support it.
Yeah, being in the commentary section of the Kickstarter campaigns where everything just expands and stresses out all the areas. You could say something very offhand and say, "Oh, well, we're just going to give you this," and they're like, "No, we want more." Okay, well, we can give you this. No, we want more than that. Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll give you a box of Mississippi Air. Great, we'll take it. There was a lot of things that you guys have offered very tongue in cheek that they were.
But then we had shipping
absolutely.
issues, and people don't believe that we actually put it in there.
Put the air in there.
We had to send it to China to get it put in each box, which
cost us all the profit.
Yep.
But yes, the people behind the games.
But you also have for all of the backers and the Cove influenced backers that we have, we've also had a few that felt a little more entitled to having their opinions being honored. But they're not sticking around with us, and that was one of those things. It's like it's one thing to put out a lot of, hey, how about this, how about that, and respect the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to, hey, I need this and I want this, and because I asked for it, I deserve
right.
that.
We did. We had a backer. You say that we had a backer say what he thought it should be.
Yeah.
And this is after the game's done. Like this is it's on Kickstarter saying like this. So what he really thought it should be like this instead, which is a complete redo.
Right.
And we're like, thanks, but this is the game.
We got it.
Then they went got it bashed, saying these guys they don't listen. Why are you serious?
Then it becomes then of course he can't just say we don't listen. He has to go on Board Game Geek and talk about how awful of a company we are.
Well, you're gonna get that. I mean, it's just,
with the internet culture as a whole, sadly, just because you have a voice doesn't always mean that you should be heard. But I mean, even during Who Goes There, Mondo comes out with a Thing board game.
They came out with it. We knew they were coming out with it while we were on our final stages.
Right.
But there was no way we could have got it out first because we had just heard. I think it was Anthony told me, like, whatever it was, a month. They're going to be releasing it in a month and a half.
And see, this is before Anthony and Brian even came on board. You know, Jesse, and most of I get excited when these guys get excited.
Sure.
You know, I mean, because I read them. I mean, I watch, and then of course Jesse gets excited about a lot of stuff, so I get excited a lot. Then I stay excited. Then he comes back in. And he's, that was so yesterday, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a roller coaster for me. But it was in November before it was after Orphans in November. Jesse shared with me the idea that he had for Who Goes There. Of course, I wasn't familiar with what Who Goes There was, and I wasn't even that familiar with the thing at that point. I've seen it, but it wasn't one of those movies that I was not the fanboy on it.
Right.
And he told me about this great idea, and he said, I know we'll never get the property on it, but maybe we can, I think that there's something there. And then that's where, I did what I was supposed to do, which I kind of reached out and actually did get the rights to the book. And I remember I was driving up to Memphis, I believe, that day, and I called Jesse and said, guess what? It was a really exciting time. And then he was like, all right, let's announce it. I said, no. We got to get more involved. We need a plan. We have to wait. Just keep it hush, hush. Work on it. Hush, hush.
Yeah. No.
2 months later, Mondo
and
Jesse's just thinking,
you son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
We could have told people 2 months ago.
We could have.
We had it out.
We could have owned the, but we still don't, and it of course meant a lot more to us. I mean, Mondo got Universal's The Thing.
Yes.
We got the original story, but not as popular because it's based on because it pretty much was Who Goes There.
Yeah.
So that was one of those times that I just, I had to apologize to Jesse and say, look, sorry, but I just didn't think we were ready to announce it. I didn't see the point in announcing it.
Sure.
And of course, now we wish we had. I don't know if it would have really affected us. It didn't matter. But it felt dirty at the time.
It felt like we were once again chasing somebody else.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to release the game. Then I was like, this is a lot like that. It's like, no, it's totally not that game at all. Matter of fact, to the degree that we could, we wanted to make sure that it was nothing like that game.
Right.
And it's really not.
No, it's not. Absolutely. I've played both, so I can
Minus
I can
thematic,
attest to that.
There's absolutely no similarities.
Yeah. And
no more than any other game that are unthematic.
But that was a natural thing. because the pitch that, came out to me originally, we're talking about how this could work, because of course I've just always been, my favorite part of Who Goes There is the fact that we all start as human.
Yes.
And the fact that you could still end all as human. I just love that aspect.
There's a lot of really fun aspects to it. Endangered Orphans, Who Goes There, Stuffed seems like it was a fairly quick turnaround with that one. How did that come
Stuffed
about?
was pitched to me before Endangered Orphans.
Really?
Was it? I just don't remember. It might have been. It wasn't Stuffed. It was Free to Roam originally. Mm-hmm. It had some mechanical changes, but you were all trying to build your wall to stop these Roman-esque modern-day soldiers. They were really cute, chibi type Romans with like Uzis and it's like
right.
And I've always liked the concept, and I like the skin. But it was, you were gathering, instead of players, you were gathering parts of your wall. So if I want this tower or this catapult, I'd roll the combination and get it. But now that I got it, I could actually remove parts of your wall by making this combination, and that was what it was. And I like the idea, but now it's evolved into Stuffed. It's too close to Stuffed to go back and do it, so it was like one or the other. But that was an overnight idea of, there's no brilliance or aha moment in it. It's just you roll dice, you get combinations. Those combinations allow you to alter dice. Altered dice can then win you the game. That's it in a nutshell. So,
But still, again, it's one of those things where, with the artwork that you and Anthony create, with the mechanics, with the presentation through the Kickstarter, people went pretty big for it.
it was fun.
And I think that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about Certifiable is the overall combination of everything involved, from the audience to the art to the presentation. It always feels very cohesive. It's never disjointed in the production, even though things are constantly changing in the background. People don't get a lot to see that or to know about some of the
Well, see, and all throughout the
troubles.
stuff time, so Anthony came on, and number one is he kind of finished the production on Endangered Orphans.
Sure.
Yeah, y'all were setting up files for the factory when Brian and I came on.
Oh, yeah.
So
God, because they
were after
walked
the
into the
campaign.
nightmare that was Endangered Orphans because we didn't know what we were doing, and it was just a handful.
Thank God they were here to kind of get that going, and then Anthony went right into Who Goes There, and pretty much never got out of the Who Goes There world for another year.
Yeah, I wasn't really a whole big part of the stuffed campaign.
Right. So it became, and which excited me because Anthony took the lead on Who Goes There, and while Jesse was able to do stuffed, and then then D6
For once, we were
came around.
moving in the same direction with two different properties. It was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now we've got D6, which the campaign was another big success, but now D6 was a little bit different with the Kickstarter because you guys were able to say, listen, this is going to be about a whole other year before you're able to get it because of all the intensity work that's gone into it, from the sculpts to the rule books to everything like that. What made you want? Because people often think of Who Goes There as a big complex game. It is a big game.
It's a gamer's game.
It's a gamer's game. D6 is a gamer's game as well, but also loosely based around Dungeons and Dragons, the RPG. What made you guys decide that was going to be the next game to go after?
I think it's the stage that it was in. I don't think we had anything else. Okay.
Well, you started off. One of the things that I wanted to do was to rekindle the Endangered Orphans side of things.
Yeah.
So Jesse came to me with an idea to do. It's like, well,
Endangered Heroes,
which would be like, okay, well, what do the orphans play?
Right.
Because a lot of everything, like Kitty Corner is Jesse's childhood nursery. All right.
Yeah, a little where we used to go to babysit was Kitty Corner, and it's just so weird because growing up, Kitty Corner was an awful. It was like that smell that triggers things. Was that sound. The word Kitty Corner was awful.
Yeah.
It was a place I hated to go. My mom knew I hated to go there. So it was a last effort thing if nothing else panned out. And now it's kind of great because when I hear Kitty Corner, it has diluted the emotion that I feel hearing it.
Okay.
Now it no longer, and it did. If I was a grown man, and I would still think of that name, and it just,
sure,
it was just really bad memories there. And now I hear the word Kitty Corner, and it's Boogeyman's house, but in a comical, cute way, and it's just funny how that works.
If death is cute.
If killing endangered, parentless children is.
But I remember having a conversation with you when I came up here one day, and you're like, hey, I know you like D&D. Let me run this idea by you. And you kind of gave me the basics of what came into D6. I thought, yeah, absolutely. That's a great idea, especially with the resurgence of D&D as it has been.
Gateway and game.
And that was the thing so with Endangered Heroes, which I love the idea, but I had told Jesse the story about my childhood. I wanted to be a D&D, fanatic.
Right.
Bad. And we were broke. To the degree that I didn't even know at the point. My mom hid it. And I begged her for Dungeons and Dragons. And that wasn't really cheap with those manuals and everything.
Yeah,
It was an expensive game. And I'm not sure, my birthday, I got Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And it was just, oh my gosh. And I loved reading the manual. I loved going and just the fantasy of looking through and imagining all of these characters. And beasts, and to this day, I've never
Still haven't played it.
played Dungeons and
We
Dragons.
gotta fix that sometime, Rick.
I'm not so sure we do. Because
Then you won't be able
honestly,
to tell that story.
Right.
well, but I mean, to this, in the sense that I've seen the commitment that it takes. I don't know. I'm an old man now. I don't
Sure.
know if I have that kind of. I don't know if I have that many breaths left.
Yeah.
I mean, that's too much tension. But Jesse kind of started to spin it a little bit, and it excited me because honestly, D6 is much more the game that I thought that I was asking for back then. I just didn't have the friend group.
Sure.
I didn't know what I was getting, and I've lived with that guilt, knowing that it was basically wasting money.
Sure.
And is D6 exactly what I thought it was going to be? No, I mean from back when I was a kid, no, but it is one of those things that is kind of
It's engaging to you.
it still inspires me.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. So we're in the middle of D6 right now. We also do First Fridays up here, which is a great way to have the gaming community know that Certifiable's here and to get involved with it. And those are so much fun to be around because people come up, they bring their board games. We have a ton of board games here that people are able to play.
Yeah, we have a lot. We've backed a lot of
I was about to
Kickstarter
say, you
games.
guys have backed a ton
I think
of
that
Kickstarters.
is what started our First Friday. Because at that point I think we were just having a game night because it wasn't a First Friday then, and two of our more dedicated
Local.
people were up here, and the group started winding down. It was just them two, and was like, we got to do this again because we had ended up opening up a game that we got. There's no less than probably 20 games we have that the cellophane hasn't even busted.
Sure. Yeah.
We can't, and there's even more than that we have bought because we're excited about it or because people have mailed them to us, whatever the case is. We haven't opened them all. And we said we need to have, and let's not be, unrealistic would be every Friday. Let's one Friday a month.
Or some of them we open simply because we want to see. I want to see that mini.
I want to see the components. I want to see how they package it.
I want to see the insert and how they packed it together. Completely.
Sure.
It's like,
You look at everything different.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
we'd say, you could either play games or you could make them, but you can't do both. And it's so true. But Anthony and I were kind of running out of excuses because we'd have people, this is what we do. And we'd have people coming up to us, oh my God, have y'all played 3rd edition of so-and-so? And I'm like, I haven't even heard of the 1st edition. What are you talking about? And you feel like an idiot. You feel like the biggest poser. And so the First Friday is a way that we stop working and we play. We enjoy, we remember why we do this, and then we learn and we say, God, I love that mechanic.
Exactly.
And this is the game everybody's talking about. Like, hell, we just played Secret Hitler for the first time
Right.
last First Friday.
It's a great
Which
game.
is ridiculous
Yeah.
that it took me that long to play. And then Anthony and I were playing Pandemic for, days for our lunch and our breakfast or whatever. Our coffee meal. We'd set up the board game in the kitchen during coffee. We'd play Pandemic, and then we'd go back to work. And it's just a fun way to reconnect with what it is that you're passionate about. And so First Fridays is a great way to do it. We had somebody travel this last one for hours.
Atlanta.
Yeah. To go and didn't announce, just kind of showed up. Huge fan, and we're like, oh, that's awesome. They're coming back.
Yeah,
and
for the next one, yeah.
So yeah, we've had them travel as far as from Amsterdam. So it's really,
that's true.
really cool that when you get somebody and they see the videos and they know who we are, and it's really surreal. And you walk, oh, I know this room. Oh, there's the cat. Oh, there's the so-and-so. It's just really, really neat. So yeah, First Fridays is a way to have fun again.
Yeah.
So it's important.
And I thought, along with having fun, that's kind of the reason I wanted to start this podcast, is so that people had a bit more of a behind the scenes of something that they already enjoy, something that they're already passionate about. I wanted them to be able to know a bit about the people behind it, more so than the surface social media that we allow them to see. So, this podcast is going to be very much crafted by the people. If you have questions, send them in through Facebook. I'll give you more of the information on the posts. We're going to try and do this, like once a month. We're going to answer questions, but we're also going to talk to a lot of people that we have relationships with, other artists, other board game creators, and just find out more about this community, what makes this community stick so well. So I just wanted to give you guys, the audience, a chance to kind of hear the story of the history of Certifiable, and that's just a tip of it. We really didn't delve deep into a lot of the issues or a lot of the triumphs that we had with a lot of
issues
this.
here?
We got subscriptions, Rick. We don't have issues. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay tuned because there's going to be more to come. But Rick, Anthony, Jesse, thank you guys for appearing this morning. We're going to see and hear more from you guys and a lot of the other people in the Certifiable studios. But until next time, we'll catch you guys later. Peace.